All right, family. We black again. Black Power is the truth hour with General Sarah Seti. Kick back, get your mind ready for some information that's guaranteed to be heavy. We got a heavy one. This one been on the menu for a minute. We got to go on and get it in once and for all. The Great Pyramid of Tikal versus the Nubian Pyramid of Ta'aka. Who gonna come out on top? And this is going to be a heavyweight slugfest, family. I'm glad you're in here today. Before we get started, I want you to make sure you get over there to Patreon. We got that file over there. We just dropped Hitler in ancient Egypt. You know, it's on there. We got the Shabaka Stone is there. We also got the occult Solomon and Melchizedek connection, secret connection to ancient Egypt. You don't want to miss it. Click that link at the top of the chat. Get on over there, get that work. Before we get started, family, I want you to, again, before we get over to Patreon, KingSeti.com, online marketplace, official General Seti products, DVDs, t-shirts, hoodies, African and Kemetic jewelry. Also, you can become a member of this YouTube page right here, General Seti, Sarah Susan Seti, unlock, you know, all type of exclusive videos and live streams. And please give this video a thumbs up, like it because you love it. Share with your family and friends. Comment. Just don't say nothing stupid because you will get banned. So right here to my left, you hear, you feel me? We got the Tikal. On my right, you got the pyramid. Well, this one not even the pyramid of Ta'aka. You know, Ta'aka's pyramid would have been the largest pyramid. Is, you know, it's been, you know, it's fallen down somewhat. It's not of its same height. It's still massive. It's still massive. Ta'aka actually built the largest pyramid in outside of the Nile Valley. So he had a extremely large pyramid. I'm gonna see where it rank. You know what I'm saying, as far as, you know, the pyramids of Egypt and his pyramid. But his pyramid was pretty large, so it was even larger than some of the Egyptian pyramids. So let's get ready to tap in because we got to get some information on because you know it come out of, we got to know that the Mayan, they come up out of, it come out of the Nile Valley where they can run but they cannot hide. Nah, a lot of people don't know when it come, but when we dealing with the pyramid, the majority, the three heavyweights is going to be Egypt, is going to be Nubia, is going to be Olmec Mayan pyramids. And you know what I'm saying? And they didn't pretty much, you know, a couple of the pyramids they don't want to acknowledge as Olmec, but they Olmec pyramids. But anyway, the Nubians built more pyramids than either Egypt or the Mayan. You see, you know, or the Mayan and Olmec put together. So just let it be known that the Nubians, you know, built far more pyramids. So when it comes to Tikal and the pyramid of Ta'aka, I put in there the pyramid of Ta'aka because it would have been the biggest pyramid. The pyramid of Tikal is the largest, well, at least the tallest pyramid of the Americas. You know, I don't know if it's the largest by volume. I don't think it's larger than Teotihuacan, but I know that it's taller than that. So you know they give it the you know the trophy for being the tallest pyramid in the Americas. But when it comes to how many pyramids was built, the Nubians built far more pyramids than the Maya and the Egyptian. Okay, so when we talk about how many pyramids that the Nubians built, the total is from 220 to 255 pyramids. Okay, pyramids, and so, and you talking about the major sites is Meroe, and you got 250 plus Nubian pyramids at Meroe alone. You see, now imagine that. I didn't see some when I was in Egypt. I didn't see some crazy views. You see, I done seen some crazy views where I done come behind the Great Pyramids and look down the Nile, and I could see pyramids all the way down the Nile. And I know they was some miles from one another, but they were so tall, and it ain't nothing else out there to the point where you could see pyramids all the way down the Nile for miles in the sky. You see what I'm saying? It's flat, it's open. And when I saw them pyramids hanging in the sky, I said, man, this is unreal. But to go to Meroe, where it's over 200 pyramids in one field, man, you know what I'm saying? That's got to be, man, that got to be one crazy view. That got to be one crazy view to get a panoramic view of over 200 plus pyramids in one field. And if you could imagine those pyramids when they was pristine, that's got to be crazy. You feel me? And then you got Nuri. Nuri is where Ta'aka built his pyramid at. I believe Shabaka is also in that. I believe Shabaka may be in that field. I had to check. I believe Shabaka and Ta'aka is at Nuri. There's 20 plus pyramids there, and then you got El Kuru pyramid field, 13 pyramids, and I believe Pianki, PA is at El Kuru. You see, and so you talking about a time span of 800 BC to about 300 of the Common Era. So you talking about over 1,000 years of pyramid building. Over 1,000 years of pyramid building. So Nubian people been sleeping on Nubia, and we know why. Okay, so the builders was kings, queens. You got princes, because now you got the Kandaki queens. In that time frame where I think the Kandakis may have ruled for about 300-400 years, and so a lot of them pyramids is the Kandaki queens. So you got a lot of history in that. All them pyramid fields in Nubia, you got some history, that's really mind-boggling that we're gonna have to tap into. So most of the pyramids are royal tombs. So again, we must state that Nubia built more pyramids than the Mayan and the Egyptian. Now the Mayan pyramid count is between 90 to 110 major. Now they say pyramidal structures. Now I don't even know. Now, so what the hell is a pyramidal structure? So it's so important to know many Mayan structures are platform pyramids or rebuilt repeatedly, not individual standalone pyramids like Nubia. Okay, so yeah, y'all trying to do something that really, and so I have to, I don't know if it's an extra step going this way or extra step going that. I had to figure and look at what that means. You know what I'm saying? Because it sounds like y'all, trying to fabricate something that ain't official. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get back off into the Mayan, but again, so you got 90 to 110 major pyramidal structures. Yeah, you feel me? Whatever that may mean, but in the time span 200 BC to 900 of the Common Era, so you talking about right around 1,000 years too. Temples, ritual platforms, royal symbolism, but it was some burials in there too. They don't like to put the burial. They try to leave that out because you're going to say, oh, okay. and they found some tombs in a lot of them, but they just don't want. They might, I don't know if they were. Some of them were royal tombs, like Tikal, and many of them, that dynasty of Tikal. I believe it was about 2, 3, 4 of them, where his queen was also buried in a Kemetic style burial. So that's very important, but they want to leave that out of there because they don't want you to make the connection. You see, they don't want you to make the connection. So when it comes down the total pyramids, again, we got the Nubians. If you take the high count, 255, so the Nubians got more than twice the pyramids of the Maya. Got more than twice. And there's a true pyramid. True pyramids, I must add. And see, the thing is, when we talk about a pyramid and you dealing with geometry, see, that's why, we had to come 100 when we do this. When you talking about geometry, a pyramid is a triangle. It's specific lines that come to a point, straight up and down, even, flat. You know what I'm saying? And so when you understand what a pyramid is based on geometry, only in Africa where you find the true pyramid. Okay? Only in Africa where you find the true pyramid. You see, you talking about Sneferu took it to that level after Imhotep. Most of these other pyramids, they're not true pyramids. You see, they got, it's not, all you have to do is look up a triangle and what the definition of a geometrical definition, and that's a pyramid. Ain't nothing else a pyramid. You can't take a mound into geometry and call it a triangle. You just can't do that. You feel what I'm saying? That's not going to qualify as a triangle. And so people have belittled the definition of a pyramid so they could get on the team. So that they can get on the team. A mound is not a pyramid. You see, if it's not smooth on all sides, it's not a pyramid. Okay, it's not. If it's not smooth on all sides, it's not a pyramid. If it's a step, that's why I call Imhotep is really a multi-level mastaba. That's really what it is. Imhotep, what they call Imhotep pyramid, is actually a multi-level mastaba. He started with a mastaba. He put another mastaba on top of that, put another one on top of that. That don't make it a pyramid. A pyramid, and so it never reached the true pyramid. Sneferu is the one that, eventually developed it into the true pyramid. So we got to know that. So when we had to check people, we check them. And so built for burials. And now that's crazy because I'm looking on here and it says the pyramids and Nubians, it says built for burials. Yes. Maya, rare. Now it did say rare, so it did say rare. Okay, rare. But they did do it. Okay. And that's probably the ones that really had been initiated, tapped into the real Omeka Egyptians, initiation, and they took it all the way to the highest level. You see, everybody, and that wasn't many. They're just, and so you see, now what's crazy, I thought that, Tikal, the Tikal pyramid is 70 meters high. Okay, now they say that's the highest Mayan pyramid. I don't know how tall Teotihuacan is, but Taaka's pyramid was only 5 meters less than the Tikal pyramid. Okay, so that's not really, you know what I'm saying? You got 5 meters on, and that's enough to get the trophy, but Taaka's pyramid was far heavier, more dense, because the rocks that was used for Tikal pyramid was less soft. Taaka had that sandstone. You feel what I'm saying? Much denser and heavier. So, it says pyramids per century, very high for the Mayan, it was moderate. Okay, it was moderate. So even the for the final verdict, the Nubians built the most pyramids by a landslide. You see, by a landslide. So because for Kush, every king equals a pyramid. Every queen got a pyramid. You see, every queen got a pyramid. So you talking about after the 25th dynasty. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Not only did the kings get the pyramid, now I know that some of the, I know Khufu and them got a pyramid, and I had to check and see how many queens pyramids it was. I know during the time of Khufu that some of the queens got a pyramid. They was a smaller pyramids, but they did get a pyramid. You know what I'm saying? But in Kush, every king, every queen got a pyramid, dynasty after dynasty. That's why it was so many. That's why it was so many. And but let's get up here. So Tikal, that pyramid they say was built during the time of 732 to 734. Now that's crazy because, as we just said, that this pyramid of Tikal is a funerary pyramid. See, so this is what I'm talking about. The most, you got Pakal's pyramid, you got Tikal pyramid. So, and see, I really didn't know that. I'm really just tapping in right here and right now, and where they try to say, oh, that the Mayan or the American pyramids were not tombs, because they don't want to make the connection that all the same functions of the pyramid in America is the same function in Africa, almost to exact detail. But they don't want that. And so when it got down, it said rare, and here it is for this particular. So for the major ones, the other ones really don't matter. You see, we just talking about the major ones, and some of the major tallest pyramids in the Americas are tombs for the king. Now I'm gonna have to tap in and see what the inside of the Tikal pyramid look like. But so the height of it is 47 meters, which is 154 feet. Okay, that's 154 feet. Okay, so it was put there. It's a symbol of power. Anytime you build a megalith like that on that scale, of course, it's power. When you look up in the sky and you can see a king's megalithic structures, towering through the sky, and that sends energy of power throughout the land. You feel me? And so most definitely that's why he put it there into Akka. But see, the pyramid fields of Kush, you wouldn't even got down in that area. You know what I'm saying? You see, you wouldn't even got down. You got to come into Africa and come down the Nile to even get there, So, outsiders wouldn't even, and that's why most outsiders haven't seen it to this day. Most outsiders haven't even seen the pyramids of Nubia to this day. Because when you come in, you got to go through that desert. You know what I'm saying? And then once you get past Aswan, you got to deal with them cataracts. And cataracts is stoppages in the river. It's like rocks and big, large rocks protruding out of the river. So you can't continue to sail up the river. You got to take your boat out of the river, and you got to go up the river some, put it back in, you know what I'm saying, and put it back in and sail back up the river. A lot of Africans had collapsible boats. And then so they had developed boats where they could collapse them up, and then take them down the river and open them back up and throw them back in the water and keep it moving. So, that is, and in essence, that is another protective, barrier, that kept people from coming in to conquer inland. But eventually they would overcome that. Nubia was, mostly protected because first and foremost, you had to come through Egypt to get to Nubia. You see what I'm saying? So, if Egypt hadn't, fall, I mean, that was going to be a natural barrier to get into Nubia. You wouldn't have never got into Nubia. But then you would have had to get past them cataracts, and then you would have had to get past all that desert. And a lot of people turned around. Even Alexander, when he came in, he came into Egypt. He was gonna try to come south, but he didn't want to. One of them Kandaki queens and sent his ass a message and told him. You know what I'm saying? And Dr. Clark talked about that. She said, you got to get through that desert. You know what I'm saying? But she sent I think she sent an army of about 100,000 soldiers up there to greet him, and told him when he get down there where she was, she'll have 1 million more. You see, and he didn't want to take that chance to, you know what I'm saying? He didn't want that fight because you going deep. You got to know water. You got to know where the water is located, and all of that. So you can't just go in there and think you're going to fight in Sudan without knowing where the water at. You feel me? And so that was, and so he turned around. She punked Alexander out of, coming down into Nubia. You know what I'm saying? She punked him from coming down into Nubia. But eventually they would also get down also into Nubia. They would also, but eventually would be with the help of, our own brothers and sisters, helping, certain adversaries down into Sudan. But these pyramids is very, is very interesting how we get off into, different aspects of our history. And so having these verses is not necessary, but to look at the different attributes of culture and seeing where we, where our people's history and legacy is in the attributes, in the display of this powerful spiritual symbols. And so on top, on top of this, just learning today, I come to know that the Tikal pyramid is one of them pyramids where the king was buried inside once again. And every time they say it's rare, but here it is, some of the greatest ones, and that's all that count. We don't need to know we just want to know whether the greatest pyramids in the Americas, were they tombs for kings? And we're finding out that many of them, the most important ones, were tombs for kings. And so now I got to get off into this tomb and see what it looked like on the inside, and and see if I can find some similarities with the African pyramids. And when I do, I most definitely bring that information to you. I appreciate y'all, family. We got that. We got some powerful videos on Patreon. I want y'all to get on over there, check it out. Let me throw one up for you real quick. There you go, right there. The one, that one too. We got the one with Solomon and Melchizedek. You already know that's fire. You need that right there. You need that in your life. Get on over there, Patreon, Solomon and Melchizedek, secret connection to ancient Kemet. And also we got the Hitler in ancient Egypt. We tapping into that Raiders of the Lost Ark. What was they in there really? What was they looking for, family? We need to find out. Did they find something? Let's tap into this Hitler in ancient Egypt. Okay, did he use some of that, what he found in Egypt to almost defeat the world in World War II? Find out. I'll see you real soon. Arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on that Wicked Beast Daily. Liberation through African education and confrontation. Boom. Black Power.